it's all good. Recording in progress. I hear her again.
Little recording in progress. Just
That's
get
right.
some good old fashioned B-roll.
Good old fashioned B-roll, B-roll, B-roll. So how are you
Hey,
doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. That's good.
Much better than it was last week, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, it was some kind of virus or something. It was nasty, whatever it was.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I didn't get COVID tested because it was one of those things where it didn't have like every single thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have a sore throat. I had a little bit of a cough, but not too much. Um, I had some chills here and there, but I just felt like it was in that realm of just a regular virus. So,
Hey,
gotta,
I mean that's the thing is like not every sickness that people get is COVID. Some people are just
yeah,
people just get sick,
yeah, and
and
everybody's gonna think it's COVID. Everybody's gonna think
uh,
every time that
hey,
somebody
listen,
gets
every
sick,
I
they're
mean
gonna think, "Oh my God, I got COVID."
every little stomach bug,
Yep,
every little like just
yep.
everything.
Just
It's like, oh, it's
everything that
COVID.
makes you a little warm is gonna make you think that you have COVID. And
Yeah, no.
let me tell you, it's happening again. It's going in the wrong freaking direction. And again, it's this big.
Find your mouthpiece and put on your jock straps. It's the Sports Blitz with Doug and Robbie.
Okay, how long is your show?
You guys have such a great setup.
And listen, if you're under a rock or if you're in a cave, come on out and listen to our episode.
It was fun talking baseball. I love talking Red Sox. I love talking coaching.
I don't care because I would rather there not be an MLB season than have to sit and watch the colossal embarrassment.
Hey, hello, I am Bloom. Yeah, it's Doug and Robbie from the Sports Blitz. I just wanted to find out whether you need some pitching.
There you go. In 5, 4, 3.
Good evening and welcome to episode number 90 of the Sports Blitz. I'm Doug. We have Robbie here. Robbie, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Doug. Doing great. Happy to be back. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to do this, but we are back and maybe better than ever. You never know with us, but yeah, very happy to
It's
be
always
here.
possible.
Yeah. Oh, hope everybody's doing well out there. And listen, if you're under a rock or in that cave, come on out, give us a view, give us a listen. Check us out because we got some more great content for you tonight. I'm actually very intrigued and excited about this episode. I think this is gonna be a good one. So glad to be along for the ride as always. Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. Very excited about this episode too, and just wanted to tell you that our sponsor for this episode is Zyman Organizing. Just remember, Robbie, have you ever felt overwhelmed about a room or a closet or a drawer that's just
I'm
really
feeling
messy?
overwhelmed right now. I mean,
That's
it's
really
just
messy. I
so
mean,
much.
he's got a whole room behind him that's unorganized. So
Why do you think about this angle? I can't, I can't have
yeah,
people see just
exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I need help.
So yeah, you contact Diamond Organizing. They will work to create and organize a room or a drawer that is so beautiful and so serene that it's a joy to spend time in. Just remember Diamond Organizing, creating a stress-free home, and that is our sponsor. So what we're going to talk about tonight, Robbie, we're going to just jump right in. We're going to talk about our topic for this week is athletes and mental health. That is our topic for this week.
Very,
It
very
is,
loaded topic. Very
yeah,
loaded
it's
topic,
it's it's a
especially
loaded topic.
these
Yep,
days. Yeah.
it's a loaded topic, but it's a topic that just came up recently, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's a topic that people bring up too often, especially on sports shows. I told you I've been listening to a lot of the sports shows that are on YouTube, and they are fabulous. Most of them are fabulous. They're great. But I didn't see any episode necessarily about this particular topic, which I think is super important because I think in our society, I think it's super important, and I think it's kind of like a faux pas to talk about it. It's like, oh, we shouldn't talk about this, and I think we really should, because I think it's really super, super important to talk about this, because there are signs and signals that you can get from family members or people that you know, friends, family members, anybody that you happen to know on the street, the guy who just came out of the cave. Um, very, very important to watch these signs and see these signs so you can help. And if you can't help, to try to get them help.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I wanted to do is the reason I thought about this in the first place was we had an incident just starting with the Olympics with the women's gymnastic team and Simone Biles. Simone Biles decided that she would drop out. It was very, very confusing to the people watching. She is a huge medal winner, and not just a huge medal winner. She is probably the most decorated gymnast that the United States has. So,
Oh yeah.
And again, she is, like, to give you some background. She is the oldest and most decorated gymnast or athlete, and the other people, other girls that are, or women that are involved in this are a lot younger. Um, not that they didn't not that they didn't have the wherewithal to be there, because they did. They were there for a reason, because they had either individually or in a team, and they were doing a team gymnast, different selections from that, and she did a few things, and she decided that she want to go on. Um, they took her in the back. Her trainer took her in the back, and she came out, and she basically put on her warm up suit, and was just said that she was going to be out, that she was not doing things maybe in the right way, and sometimes, and you can relate to this, Robbie. There are baseball players out there that they get injured or they get hurt or something happens, and it's a pitcher, and sometimes they get something called the yips. And when you get the yips, you're not concentrating on what you're doing. You have other things that are going on, and it's kind of, in some cases, it's really difficult to get back. So what I wanted to do is to first ask you for your first impressions when you heard this, whether you saw it, because my wife and I were watching and we actually saw it happen live, or it was live, it was 13 hours. It's 13 hours different, so it was live for us, but not live for them. But it's wanted to know what your first impression and your first reaction was to hearing this, and then we're going to talk about some other athletes who have been through this,
Yeah.
other athletes who have had some mental illness and who needed help and that kind of thing. And then we have some questions, and then we'll go on from there. But I wanted to get your first impression of what you thought of when you first heard or saw on Twitter that she was dumping out.
Yeah, I did not see it live myself, but I definitely heard about it pretty much immediately through the news outlets and through social media and all those vehicles. And you know what? I think my reaction, from the very beginning was that, I was, I was very supportive of her, because I know how much under the microscope she is as a gymnast, and how much pressure she's under, as the top gymnast in this country, and in a lot of ways worldwide, heading into these Olympics. And I think a lot of times, these athletes and performers sometimes put on kind of that brave face and sort of go through it because they don't want to let down their fans or their constituents or whoever it may be. But at the same time, they're human beings. They feel the same human emotions that you and I do. And like you said, sometimes they just they're just not all there, and sometimes the pressure can get to them in a way that is not healthy and not good for their mental state. And I think especially with gymnastics, and the point that everybody kept coming back to that I agree with is gymnastics, you almost have to be 100% there mentally, because if you're not, if you've lost focus or whatever the case may be, not only will it affect your performance, but gymnastics is one of those sports where you could cause yourself injury by not being all there. And that is just something where not just your mental health but your physical health is at stake. So I just feel like if she it sounds like she was really not at a good place, at least in that moment, and need to sort of take a step back and sort of evaluate where she was at, and sort of take some time to get herself back on an even keel, whatever you call it. And I support that. I think your health and your mental health is far more important than winning a medal at the Olympics. I mean, it's the most important thing, and not taking care of it can have so many lifelong impacts in so many different ways, as I was just talking about,
Right.
both mentally and physically. And so I was 100% on board with her. And obviously, different people out there had different reactions based on sort of, I feel like sometimes the people of certain leanings and other areas tend to respond more negatively to that kind of thing, whereas other people respond more positively to it. But I think it's important for her to to focus on herself and to make sure that she's not that she's able to continue to be in the best headspace, not just for right now and for the Olympics, but just for her whole life. I mean, again, it's US gymnastics, I will say this, and I don't want to go too far into it, but US gymnastics has been a hotbed these last few years for some very serious issues, not just mental health wise, but just some very
accusations.
So very serious things have gone on behind the scenes that have affected obviously people directly, and some of these gymnasts directly. But even if they haven't been affected directly, it definitely has sort of cast a wide net in terms of these athletes. And so there's just I think there's just a lot going on that we may not even know about. And like I said, just I was glad that she sort of listened to herself and did what was best for her. And I was glad to see she came back in the individual, I know, and won the bronze medal. So I was happy for her that she got the medal. But I was more happy to see that she really didn't just sort of power through, but instead really listened to herself and did what was best for her. So I was very, very happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was confused, but I was not. I wasn't really surprised, because if you, and again, I don't know her personally. So I don't know. I just have seen her. Yeah, I mean, I've seen her in these kinds of situations. She has been able to, again, the most decorated gymnast that we have in the United States. She has done just phenomenal. She has worked so hard, done such a phenomenal job that to see her in that position was I guess a little. At first, it was disheartening because we don't know. I mean, is she injured? Is she physically injured? Is she? Because my wife were kind of going back and forth. We're like, well, we saw her do the vault, and she just did not know where she was when she flipped. She
Right.
hit the vault, and then she flipped over. She was flipped over. She landed, but that's not what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to do something completely different. And the landing, when she landed, she was like, "Whoa, what the hell just happened?" You could see her face, and she was like, "Whoa, that wasn't right."
Yeah.
And if you listen to the analysis, sometimes it's good analysis, sometimes it's really bad analysis. So depending on, well, that's pretty much with everything, actually. Now that I think about it, if you're talking about some of the NBA guys or some of the NHL guys, I mean, I can't.
It's either good or bad analysis.
I have a hard time. I have a
So,
hard time listening to NBC Sports Hockey, and I have a hard time listening to those guys sometimes because they're never they're always against the Boston Bruins, and I don't really know why. They shouldn't be, but they should be flatlined. They should be
well, I mean,
pretty
NBC.
unbiased.
Yeah, but NBC's no longer going to be doing hockey, so now
I
you're going
know,
to get
no,
the
I know, I
ESPN
know that,
guys
I know
from
that.
here
The
on
only
out.
the only guy I like was Doc, and Doc always
Oh,
loved the
Doc,
Bruins. He was always
legend, Doc Emmerich,
well because
absolutely.
Doc Emmerich didn't come necessarily from hockey. He came from just broadcast. So
Yeah,
when you have the broadcasters versus the hockey guys, it's totally different. Anyway, just coming from the two people that were commenting, these are two people that have done gymnastics before. They they knew something was wrong as soon as she hit it, and after she landed, thankfully she landed on her feet. They knew that there was something going on immediately. They said either she doesn't have it, and then they started to talk about what they don't call it yips, but they call it something totally different. But it's like having the yips, where if you go up in the air and you don't know where you are and you don't know what the next thing to do is, because you're so trained to do those moves every single time the same way, you don't do it the same way. You're right. You can get absolutely badly hurt. That's the first thing. Second thing is that if you don't have the right mindset, you're either going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt the team, or both, and or what's worse is that you could get hurt. Um, but they were spot on. What I liked, what I really really liked, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes too. Again, mine was a little bit of shock, but a little bit maybe not shock because the fact is that being the oldest and the most decorated of all those girls, all those ladies, we're, we're, we're talking about tremendous amount of pressure. Tremendous amount of pressure. And I don't even know that pressure. I've had pressurized situations before, but there's nothing like this.
yeah,
Nothing like this.
yeah.
It's totally on a different plane. It's totally in a different atmosphere as we have pressure. We got pressure, but there's the pressure for her to perform, the pressure for her to make gold, not just a medal, but gold.
Yeah,
The pressure for her for her to for her to do exactly what she needs to do, and the fact is that she's the elder statesman. She's the veteran. She's gotta she's gotta pull together and make sure that not only she does a good job herself, but she's got to make sure her team does well too. So it's a combination of everything put together. The thing that I liked, and we're going to go over some more questions, is the thing I liked is the fact that once she went into before she went to the locker room, she put on her warm ups, on the warm ups. She had a meeting with the team really
yeah.
quickly, she went back with her trainer. She went out. It was a little bit of a funny situation. They wouldn't let her out until she showed her badge. I mean, who doesn't know Simone? But I know she's wearing a mask, but still, I mean, 4'8" gymnastics gymnast. I mean, you don't know what's
Very, very hard. Yeah, very hard to
very
not
hard to
recognize
it's very
these
hard to
days.
duplicate who she is. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting because she had to show her ID, which was in the back. It was inside her backpack because when she put all everything inside, it kind of went in there. So that she had to actually go in the back and open up the because her trainer had her sack, had her bag,
Yeah.
and she had to go in the bag and show the person who she was going out. Anyway, she went out, came back. When she came back, she was rooting for her team.
Yeah.
She was her team. Her team was there. So what I wanted to ask you is do you think that this hurt Team USA gymnastics? And do you think that this, I guess you could call it an incident, but it's really not an incident, but for lack of a better word, do you think that this is, I mean, do you think it really hurt Team USA to have her step back and step out?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to answer because I mean, first of all, Team USA Gymnastics has always been very strong. Apart from Simone Biles, I mean, it seems like from what I've heard, they have a very, a good core of young, up and coming gymnasts as well. And I think that they
Young
actually
talent,
performed young talent. And I think that they actually performed pretty well. I mean, I haven't been following it. I'll be honest, I haven't been following it, super, super closely, other than,
What's the
hearing
matter, Robbie?
some,
You don't follow USA women's gymnastics.
you
What's the matter
know,
with you?
it's not the first thing I turn on in the morning,
Oh,
it's,
okay, all right. I'll give you
but,
that. I'll give you
no, I mean, yeah, I don't think performance-wise, I don't think it sounds like they kind of rebounded.
that. They did.
It sounds like they rebounded well, and the other gymnasts picked up the slack, and they were able to perform strongly. If anything, I think it as a program as a whole sort of brought them closer together, because it just sort of they were able to sort of unite around Simone Biles, and while she was being there for them, they were able to be there for her. So I think as sort of a group, I would like to say at least, not being sort of in there in their inner circle, I would like to think at least that it brought them closer together and made them stronger as a unit there. But I don't think it ultimately impacted their performance wise. I mean, obviously Simone Biles is a great gymnast, and obviously, it obviously impacted her ability to win more medals. But again, I don't think that that's the biggest thing here. But overall as a team, I really, from what I heard at least, again, I didn't follow it closely, but from what I heard at least, there was not a big factor in how they ultimately came out as a team and as individuals for that matter. So
Oh yeah, definitely. No, and I agree with that. And I was watching it a little bit here and there, but mostly, my wife and I like to watch the gymnastics. We like to watch the swimming. I like to watch the track and field because I did track and field in high school, so I like to watch that too. So there's certain events that I like to watch, but I think you could tell right away just by their reaction to what Simone Biles said. And sometimes you could hear a little bit because there are some pretty sensitive
the
microphones back
mic,
there.
yeah, there's some microphones. And
Yeah,
all
there
that.
are some microphones, but they were absolutely behind her 100%, because she's a teammate. And if a teammate's having a problem, we're a team. If a teammate's having a problem, we need to support that teammate. Now, the looks on their faces were like, holy crap, at first. Because if you look at their faces, even when the other teams were going, well, they did ROC basically they were kind of, going against them at the time that this happened. So,
The
going
good old
against
Russian Olympic, the good old Russian Olympic
Russian Olympic
Committee.
Committee. Well, it's a way of dispersing themselves from anything else, I guess, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's fine. So it's one of those things where every time the Russians were performing, the cameras were on them, and they were going. I know, and I don't know this for a fact, and maybe that their facial expressions said. In some cases, it seemed like, well, how are we supposed to win this? But what happened is that she was there cheerleading. She was there. Let's go. Let's go. I'll do. You heard her say, "I'll do whatever you guys need me to do. You need me to go get some of that chalk. You need me to go get chalk. You need me to go get towels. Whatever you need me to do, I'm here. I'm here for you guys. You guys are great. You guys will do great. Let's get this. Let's do this."
Yeah.
She was a cheerleader. How could you?
Yeah.
How could you not? Even if she got hurt, and she couldn't do it. She would still be out there cheerleading. So I like that. I like that part of it. I really do. I love that part of it because that shows that she's part of a team. She didn't go in the back, Robbie, and stay there in the locker room and
Yeah.
hang out or go
Yeah.
back to the Olympic Village. She's like, yeah, okay, I'm not doing well today. I'm sucking wind. I'm having some issues. Doesn't matter what the issues are. I'm having issues. I need to step back and think about this for a little bit. But I need to sit and hang with my team and make sure that they know that I'm behind them. I'm not abandoning them. And
Yeah.
that shows that is the veteran attitude.
Right.
That's the veteran attitude. That's the attitude that she needs. I think, and I'm not gonna suggest that this is really what happened was, but I think that helped her because once she told those guys, she put on her warm ups, she went back, came back, put on, and said, "Okay, guys, let's do this." Her whole aura changed. If you watch, every time they had the camera on her the whole time. I mean, they barely got what the athletes were actually doing because they would after every single thing they would focus on her, and she was clapping, she was smiling, she was joking around with everybody. It was almost like the pressure went from her head through her feet, and she was like, "I'm better. I'm
Like
okay
a
now."
weight lifted off her shoulders, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I said that to my
Yep.
wife too. I turned to my wife and said, "She's got a different aura right now.
Yeah.
She's got a totally different aura. She's
That
not
makes sense. It
upset.
makes sense. It makes
Yeah,
total sense. I mean, because
exactly.
she's acknowledged the problem, and now she can feel sort of free, sort of free of whatever was going on inside
No,
at
and
that moment. That
yeah,
she
yeah,
acknowledged
exactly.
it, and
Yeah, and I
so
absolutely
yeah,
think her
no,
teammates were behind her.
yeah,
I think her teammates. I mean, it just seemed to me the body language was. I think the body language was, let's do it for her. Let's do
yep,
this for her now. She's a teammate. She can't go. Let's just do it for her. And that's kind of what really made sense to me. Um, so I know this is kind of the last thing, one of the last things on Simone before we move to some of the other athletes that that have had some mental health issues in the past. But wanted to ask you, this was at a very emotional time for the team, for her, or for her family, for everyone. Do you think that this was the best thing to do? Do you think this was the right thing to do? Do you think, and looking back at it now, sitting here today, when, by the way, she went back and won bronze,
yeah,
um, actually won a medal, which, by the way, I have heard from lots of different people, it is super hard to get even a bronze medal in the Olympics. I mean, we're talking,
Oh yeah.
these are some of the professional athletes, some of them are amateur athletes, but they're really close to professional. But they do this, they have to qualify to even make it into the Olympics to begin with. And then it's really super difficult to even get a medal. So, and she
And
came
these are
back.
world-class athletes too. I
Yes,
mean, these aren't
yes,
just you and I. These are like people have been training back
absolutely. And they work,
years,
yeah,
if not more, for this. And
yes.
they
And they
still,
work
some
365
of them
too.
still go, some of them still, go their entire careers without winning a medal. Absolutely.
And they go 365 too for many years. Do you think that this was the right thing? And we're looking at hindsight also.
Yeah.
Do you think this was the right thing? Do you think this was the best thing for her team, for the U.S. Olympic Committee, which we don't really care about that much anyway? We care about the athletes. But do you think it was the right thing?
Absolutely. 100%. I think it was the right decision. I think she, like I said before, I commend her entirely for focusing on her mental health and her well-being, above, what is, in reality is just, it's an athletic event. There are so many more important things. I mean, no disrespect to the Olympics, and believe me, I love the Olympics. I love sports. I love sporting events. But there's so many other bigger things in this world than sports and sporting events and the Olympics, for sure. And I think your mental health and your physical health and just your health in general is just so much more important than winning, a medal at the Olympics or accomplishing anything else, because that's your whole life. I mean, if you do damage to those aspects of you now, I mean, you can't get that back in a lot of ways. Those, you're going to be feeling the impacts of that for the rest of your life if you don't, take a step back and deal with it. So I
Mm.
100% believe that it was the right decision for her to make, and I 100% am behind and commend her for acknowledging the problem and for dealing with it the way she did it. Absolutely no questions asked.
Yeah, I think she also did the right thing. I think it takes guts. It takes a lot of guts to be able to recognize and maturity to recognize that there's a problem and to be able to say to someone, "Hey, guess what? I got a problem and I need some help or I need some time, I need some whatever, and I need to step away." And now there's been a lot of criticism of her. Oh, she's not a USA team member. How could she do this? Blah blah. All this bull crap, as far as I'm concerned. That is people not looking at the human being. They're
Yeah.
looking at the athlete only, not looking at the human being. All these athletes, all these tremendous athletes, everybody from a world class hockey player to a world class soccer player to a swimmer to Olympic athletes to all of our pro athletes in Boston and all around the world, all around the country. The Canadian football team, anybody. All these people are human.
Yeah.
They have human tendencies. They have human behaviors, and there are times that they don't feel good. Times that they don't feel good physically. There are times that they get hurt and have to come back. There are times that they don't feel good mentally. There are times that they have issues. There are times that they could have endorsements and make lots and lots of money and blah blah blah, and then they have mental health issues. They have issues because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with the money coming in. They don't know how to deal with their friends asking and their families asking for money and relationships and stuff like that. It's difficult sometimes. We have to understand that the human being comes first, mentally and physically, before the athlete. And I think we have to realize that, and I think we have to have that mindset
Yeah.
because I think it's like super important. I have 7 athletes here um, who have.
Doug, can
Not, oh, go
I
ahead.
don't mean, I don't mean to interrupt you. I had a question to ask you that I just sort of
Oh, sure.
popped into my head as we were talking
Yeah, go ahead.
about something, because obviously this year's Olympics, one of the big changes is, the fact that there haven't been, not necessarily the crowds in terms of a general sense, but the athletes haven't really been able to have their friends and their family there with them, obviously due to the pandemic and due to the restrictions that have been put on them. So I was curious to hear your answer if you thought that her not being able to have her familial or friend support system, there in person with her this time around played any role to it, or if it just, if this was an issue that was going to, sort of be an issue irregardless of if she had friends, family there or not.
I think the friends and family thing was a huge thing. I think it was a huge thing for every athlete that was there.
Yeah,
I think it absolutely had something to do. I think this would have happened anyway, but then even if it happened, she would have had the support right away, like
yeah,
immediately from family members. Not that she didn't, and I don't know who she talked to, after the whole incident happened or whatever, but because we're not privy to that. But I think not having parents there was an absolute huge kind of situation for everybody. There was an athlete, I think it's from Australia, but I'm not sure. Maybe it was Great Britain. She is a para athlete, and she said that she actually, for the first time in she's been competing for like, I don't know, decade maybe. She said for the first time in a decade, she had to. She's the only. I think she's a swimmer, and she is blind and deaf. And she said that her parents are the ones who were not her trainers, but they were the ones who were, you could have one person there for, to help you out. And it turns out that it was her trainer, but not her parents. She dropped out even before the competition happened because she said, I can't do this without my parents.
yeah.
I just can't. So I think that makes a huge difference, and I think that was probably part of it. It was hard not to have people there. I understand why, obviously, but it was really, really difficult. I think not just for her, but I think for everybody else. I mean,
Yeah.
you saw some of the swimming, and they had cameras at all these athletes' houses and stuff like that, and they're cheering them on, even talking to them in some way. There was one time when a swimmer was up. I think it was Ledecky. She had her family watching, and her family wanted to say something to her, and because of Zoom, she couldn't even hear what they were saying. Couldn't even hear it. She couldn't
Wow.
even talk to her family until either after the event was over or whatever. So not even there
I
on
will say
national TV.
I love the swimmer from Alaska, her sort of viewing party's reaction. I thought that was a pretty cool moment to see, because I think she was like, it was her first Olympics, and I thought that was a really cool thing. But yeah, it definitely is added a new sort of a new adversity for these athletes this year, and definitely has been something that all of them, regardless of sport or country, wherever, have had to overcome in some form or another, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think it had an effect. I think it
Yeah,
had an effect on all the athletes. Um, and not necessarily in a tremendously negative way, but I think to have their families there um, would have been very, very helpful. And
yeah,
I think it definitely, hurt some of the people, or hurt some of the athletes that were there. Um, And yeah, I do think it was that's a great question. I think it did make a difference.
Yeah, I agree. I
Absolutely.
agree. I
That
agree
was a great
100%.
question. Yeah. So I'm just going to go over a few of these athletes. I know I have 7 of them, but I'm just gonna go over a few of these, really quick because I think it's important for the people out there to know that this doesn't just affect you or your family members or friends or teachers or doctors or lawyers or whoever.
Yeah,
It can affect everybody.
yeah.
And unbelievably, I didn't even know some of the people that were on this list. And I will tell you each one of them, but just want to give you some of the stories really quickly because I think it's really important. And I'm going to read a little bit too, so I apologize for reading because I did not memorize this stuff. So, but from the outside, it seemed the Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps was on the top of the world after a dominating performance at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Phelps became a household name and swimming icon. But his hero image faltered when he was photographed smoking marijuana in 2009 and then arrested for DUI in 2014. The 2014 arrest was Phelps' second DUI and resulted in a 6-month ban from competition. Sorry, there's another page here. Sorry. Phelps went to a rehab clinic in Arizona and sought help from a therapist for depression, anxiety, and thoughts of suicide. That's what I said. He then went on to make a return to the 2014 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, where he became the most decorated Olympian of all time with 28 medals. 23 of them were gold, which is beyond
Incredible. Incredible.
beyond incredible. It's super hard to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Super hard to get 1 medal versus 28.
Well, boy, yeah. You're telling me.
Yeah. Today, he is focused on raising 3 boys with his wife, Nicole, and advocating for mental health resources. He said, I struggled with anxiety and depression and questioned whether or not I wanted to be alive anymore. It was when I hit this low that I decided to reach out and ask for help of a licensed therapist. This decision ultimately helped save my life. You don't have to wait for things. Who even knew this?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, it was in the papers about the fact that he got the DUIs. It was in the paper that it was in the news that he got that he was suspended for 6 months. And what he's telling people is right here is he's saying don't wait. He's saying if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling upset about the world and the world around you or whatever, tell someone. Ask for help. Even it's Michael Phelps we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're not talking about and we could be talking about Joe John down the street, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're talking about Michael Phelps, so that's huge. Another person you're going to know somebody, especially around here, Ali Reisman.
Needham's own.
That's right. Led by Captain Ali Reisman, the Fierce Five Olympic gymnastic team captured our hearts when they won team gold at the 2012 Summer Games in London. Years later, a scandal was uncovered that revealed Larry Nassar, who we just talked about before. We didn't mention any names, but I'll mention it now because it's in here. A team doctor had sexually abused hundreds of gymnasts under the guise of physical therapy and performing treatments. Sadly, Raisman and several of her Olympic teammates were among these victims. Broussard was sentenced to 175 years, which, by the way, is not long enough, in prison for his actions. Raisman was present at his sentencing to read a victim impact statement, and in February 2018 filed a lawsuit against USA Gymnastics regarding their role in the scandal. When asked about her healing journey, she said, "I definitely have moments where I worried I'm always going to feel like this. But I've learned through therapy that I'm not going to feel like this forever. And so hopefully, the more I speak on it, the more people I can help. Even if I just help one person, it was really worth it." She went for help too because of something that was very, very serious that happened to her that she's had to overcome. It makes sense. The last one I'm going to do, and then I'll mention some of the other ones. The last one is Andrew Luck, National Football League quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Andrew Luck shocked fans when he suddenly retired from the NFL at just 29 years old. 2 weeks before the 2019 season was set to begin, as quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, selected first overall in the 2013 NFL Draft, it seemed Luck's career was only just beginning when it came to a halt. After a strong start with the Colts, Luck missed the entire 2017 season due to an injury on his throwing shoulder. At a press conference where he announced his retirement, Luck revealed that a constant cycle of injury, pain, and rehabilitation had been affecting his wellness. And although the knee-jerk reaction of many fans was one of frustration, Luck was commended by many others for taking a brave stand for his mental health. He said, "The only way forward for me to remove myself from football and the cycle I've been in, I've come to the proverbial fork in the road, and I made a vow to myself that if I ever did again, I would choose you." These are unbelievable stories, Robbie, that have
Yep.
come from unbelievable people and unbelievable athletes.
Yeah.
This is not these are not the only three people. There
No.
are others. There are others out there that you think are the toughest people in the whole world, toughest athletes in the whole world, because that's how you see them. That's how you hear them. That's how you have this, and I do too. I have this thing about, wow, Michael Phelps, wow, Andrew Luck. And I watched games because he played against the Patriots and he was awesome. He was really great. He was a Patriots killer. He was great. He was a great quarterback. But you don't think about the human side of these people. You never do. And you notice I said people and not athletes. Don't think about that side. They have that side because that's what they are. They're human. Some of them may be superhuman.
Hmm.
In some cases, it seems like they are, but they're not. They're not. They're
Yeah.
incredible athletes that have done incredible things. But on the flip side of it, they're just human. So these are the kinds of things I just wanted to get your reaction of what you think about these stories and what people say. And these guys are absolute advocate for mental wellness. This is my story, and I want to get it out there because I want people to know that it's okay. It's okay. I wanted to get your comments on kind of what you just heard.
I mean, I think the one word, and I kind of said it as you were going on, is wow. I think that sort of sums it up for me. I think that, like I said before, I mean, athletes are just so under the microscope, and they're constantly in the spotlight. Every little thing that they do, positive or negative or whatever the case may be, and that pressure, that cloud, that public eye, that sort of being in the public eye constantly could just have such an impact on their mental well-being that we don't even know about. And it's true. In some cases, I think sometimes we lose track, or we lose sort of focus on the fact that these are people. They're human beings, just like you and I. Even though they're world-class athletes, first and foremost, they're human beings. And sometimes we and others out there, unfortunately, tend to lose sight of that and see them more as like this commodity, this, whatever you want to call it. And then when something like this happens, that's when people go like, oh, they're abandoning their team or their sport, or they're just this and that and this and that. And they don't stop to think, well, they have human emotions just like the rest of us, and this is their lives. Bottom line, just like if it was you or I or the guy next door, the guy down the street, it doesn't matter. And I just think it's so important that we just take a step back in these moments and realize that fact of them being human beings. And it just would make things so much better, and so much, it just would help so much in so many ways for us to try to put ourselves in their shoes and think of how we would deal with what they have to go through on a daily basis, because we can't even imagine it. We can, we could try it and we could speculate, but we don't know what it's like to be in Andrew Locke's shoes, or in Simone Biles' shoes, or in Michael Phelps' shoes. Or another name that came to mind was Naomi Osaka, the tennis player from Japan, who I know had to deal with some issues and pulled out of the I forget if it was Wimbledon or the Australia. It was the French Open. It was the French Open she had to pull out of because of the same sort of thing. She just was having a really hard time mentally and needed to sort of take a step back. And mental health is just so important, as we've seen so many instances, whether it be athletes or just regular Joe Schmoes out there. It's so important. If you do not stop and take care of your mental health now, it's something, a lot of cases, you can't get back. You can't get back the damage that you do by not dealing with it in the moment. And so I commend these athletes for stopping and saying, wait, I need help here, or wait, this is getting to be too much. I think it's it's a brave step to take, especially given their chosen profession and their exposure in the public eye. So I like I said, my reaction to it is wow, and my also reaction to it is to sort of stand up and applaud them for taking a stand and focusing on themselves when they need to the most, because I think it's very important. So
Yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree with everything you've said. I agree with your sentiment. I think that it's super, super important. I was just reading. I just want to read one more because this kind of hits it. This kind of hits it right here. And I think the reason that it hits it a little bit more is because some people, when they look at sports, and we do, we have a sports podcast, look at sports all the time. and sometimes we get depressed about our teams, not depressed in a way where we have to go see someone necessarily, but we get upset because our teams lose, or we get upset because our teams do something, whatever that
Or
is,
don't do anything at the trade deadline.
or don't do anything at the trade deadline and decide to get everybody from the last 3 or 4 years back on the team. So
I wasn't talking about the Celtics.
Okay. We talk whoever. That's fine. But I think we'll
Red Sox.
Red
Excuse me.
Sox, right? Red Sox, exactly.
Having a moment. Sorry, I gotta
Right.
take a step back and sort of just deal with my moment here. So go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. And we have had, this is our 90th episode of talking about sports in a way where we
I'm
we
shocked,
have,
dude. I still have our mental faculties after spending all these episodes, sitting here in our bedrooms, just talking sports to each other and just yelling into the abyss of our cameras here. So
no, I think, yeah. I mean, I think what I was about to say is that it's one of those things where we typically talk about happy things, and we talk about happy for 90 episodes, and we have episodes about different things. We have Kyle on, and we have George on, and we have Rivers episodes, which Rivers episodes are fantastic, and that kind of thing. This is one of those serious episodes, and this is something that's very serious, something that plagues that plagues the United States, but also plagues the world, about people having issues, and feeling like it's not important enough to say something to somebody. So I just want to say this. I just want to do this last one here because I think this really hits it. This hits it for me, and hits it home, because you see these athletes on TV and you're like, oh, these athletes are making millions of dollars, that they're winning or they're not winning it, but it doesn't matter if they win or they lose, because they're making millions of dollars. So why on earth could they be upset about
what do they have
anything?
to complain about? What do they
Yeah,
have to?
they don't have anything to complain about. They have nothing to think about, except they go out and they play. Who goes to work and plays? They go out and play a sport, and a sport that they love. They've worked. I'm not saying they haven't worked hard. I'm just saying they play a sport. You get millions and millions of dollars, and all of a sudden, what happens? Okay, so this is it says DeMar DeRozan. No one is indestructible. DeRozan grew up in Compton, California. He was already being heavily recruited in high school. Selected basketball, that is. Selected 9th overall in the 2009 NBA draft, and currently playing for the San Antonio Spurs. Although, by the way, he's not. This came out, before he just. No, he was a free agent, so he's actually. I wish I knew where he went, but I can't remember, because he just went just in the last couple of days. He's not playing for the Spurs, so that's okay. Many players knew DeRozan for his quiet intensity, but DeRozan deals with depression and anxiety, which he first revealed
Chicago.
at that. Thank you. At that short, honest tweet. Because of advocacy from DeRozan and others, the NBA adopted a new rule for teams: have at least one full-time licensed mental health professional on staff, beginning with the 2019-2020 season. Looking back on that tweet, DeRozan said, "It's one of them things that no matter how indestructible we look like we are, we're all humans. We're all human at the end of the day. We all got feelings, all of that. Sometimes it gets the best of you. For times, everything in the whole world is on top of it." Now, this is huge because I don't know about the other sports, but in 2019, because of this, the NBA put together a rule that said every single NBA team needs to have a mental health professional on staff to help with any kind of mental health issue, any of the athletes on that particular team, which I think the NBA stepped up. Now, unfortunately, I don't know about the other groups because I did not. I don't know about the other groups, but I do know about the NBA. NBA has stepped up on that, knows how important this is, and how super important mental health is for everybody, because everybody has it or has some kind of. Sometimes you feel blue. Sometimes you feel upset during the day. Doesn't mean you have to go see somebody, unless you think that there are certain signs and things to look for. Somebody's not eating, somebody's sleeping all day, somebody's really down all the time. I mean, these are just a few things that you can kind of look at. And it's not. They actually have a commercial on TV right now, Robbie, that says ask questions. You okay? I'm your friend. I'm here for you. Find out what the problem is. Maybe they can just talk it out and everything's fine. They may have to see a mental health professional to talk it out even more over a serious amount of times, and that the mental health professional can help them. I have gone to a mental health professional before.
Yep.
I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to get the help when I needed it. And it was in college. It was about a girlfriend, and the girlfriend, I found out, unfortunately, that the girlfriend had been molested by her father, and then her two sisters were also molested by her father. And this was a very difficult situation because I spent a lot of time in their house.
Wow.
And it was very difficult. I knew early on. I didn't know at the time because I was probably 19, 20 years old. I didn't understand that people who are in that situation have a very hard time with relationships. So after she broke up with me, I was devastated. I was angry and devastated and pissed off and didn't know what to do. And so I went to a mental health professional that was at my school at the time, and she helped me. I was angry. I was upset. I was depressed. I wouldn't even go into the cafeteria because I would see her. I mean, that's how I didn't go into the cafeteria for 3 months because I would see her. So it's one of those things where it's not a faux pas these days. Get help, but you got to recognize that you need help, or you got to ask somebody for help. It's not a faux pas to ask either. So if you're feeling that way, or even if it's minor, it doesn't matter. It's better to get the help or to find out that, oh, well, maybe this is not such a big problem, but maybe you just need to talk about it. And that's okay too. But don't let it go. This is what all these athletes are saying, is don't let these go. Find the signs and get help. That's basically what it comes down to, Robbie, is find and get help.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing.
Couldn't have said it better. You're
and
100%.
that's it's super important. You don't have to be an athlete to think this way. There are plenty, and words comes to words. You're feeling blue, you're feeling depressed, you're sleeping all day, there's all kinds of different signs. You can look them up you can Google it, you can look it up. All kinds of things. Worst comes to worst, you call your own doctor. Your doctor can give you a referral and go and check it out. Because your mental health, we want you to keep subbing in here. We want you to keep listening to our shows. We want you to be, you're not going to be happy all the time, because you're not. We get it. I'm not happy all the time.
Yeah. The Sports Blitz is here for you, everybody out there at home. We are
Exactly.
We're
We're definitely here for you, but we also want you to know that it's super important to get help if you need the help. So what I did is I actually looked up. This is a 24-hour service. It's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is super important. And Robbie, I think we're going to put it up on. I'd like to put it up on in our description, because I think it's really super important to do this. It's 1-800-273-8255. I will make sure that it'll be up in the description. Again, just like all these athletes are saying, if I could help one person out there, And I was a peer counselor at school, and I helped a couple people too, and it feels really good to help somebody out. But even if it's just yourself, help yourself. Super, super important. You need to talk to someone. Call. If you don't know who to call, there's a number that I just mentioned. Have it in the description.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's really what I got right now.
Yeah.
The other athletes, Kevin Love, Abby Wambach, Ronda Rousey. These are just some other athletes that I have on my list that have their own stories. I would absolutely tell you just to look it up. Athletes that have had issues, mental health issues, look it up. It's unbelievable how many, and these are just 7. Unbelievable how many have had or are in the process of having mental health issues, and it's not not something to be upset about. It's not something to be nobody's indestructible. So I think it's important that and what these athletes are saying is that yeah, I had a problem, I recognized the problem, I went for help. That's what I think that this whole episode is kind of coming to. I mean, do you agree with that, Robbie?
Yeah. No, I'm like I said, I am with you 100%. I mean, I think you've really hit the nail right on the head with what you've said about this, what is just such an important issue, and I just hope that more and more people, can sort of take a stand like these professional athletes have done, like people every day do, and really, continue to keep the conversation going stronger and stronger on mental health because it's just so important. So like I said, I'm 100% in agreement with sort of everything that's been said tonight, and it really was a great topic to touch on because it really is so important, and
Yeah, absolutely.
that's all I got.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and we're coming up on where we're going to give our final thoughts for the evening. And Robbie, wanted to know what your final thoughts are for this 90th episode of the Sports Blitz.
Yes, episode number 90. Well, I was considering ranting about the Red Sox at the trade deadline, but I thought, you know what, I sort of changed my mind last minute and was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep my final thoughts more on a positive note here tonight. I'm actually going to, we were talking before about the Olympics, so it's appropriate that I bring up a couple of Olympic related topics for my final thought. One is obviously, I'm sort of the baseball guy of the show, so to speak. So I definitely would be remiss if I didn't mention that the good old US of A baseball team is headed to the gold medal game of the Tokyo Olympics. They defeated South Korea this morning, actually, in the semifinals. Big win for them, and so they will be advancing to face the host Japan in the gold medal game coming up on Saturday morning. So best of luck to the USA baseball team. Hopefully they can bring home the gold. Regardless, they've had a great run in this Olympics, and just wish them nothing but the best come Saturday morning. And the second thing I wanted to touch on, which is a very feel-good story of sportsmanship that just happened a couple of days ago in I believe it was the long jump. I hope I'm getting the event correct, but there was a tie for the gold medal. There was a tie between an athlete from Italy and an athlete from I'm blanking. I believe it was an athlete from Qatar. Yeah, it was an athlete from Qatar and an athlete from Italy tied for the gold medal. And instead of going to a jump off to decide one winner, both of these athletes decided that they were going to share the gold medal, which I just thought was a really, really great gesture by both of them, and sort of the spirit. The Olympics is supposed to be about, national, sort of unity between countries and coming together and sportsmanship, among other things. And so I thought that the ability of them to sort of put their own desires aside and, really, just sort of accept, sharing the gold medal, was just the ultimate act of sportsmanship there. And I was very, very impressed to see them do that. And so I commend both of those athletes on, first of all, on winning a gold medal, but second of all, their acts there in allowing both of them to achieve top prize in the Olympic Games. So that's my final thought, or final thoughts, if you want to call it that, for episode number 90, Doug. And let me kick it back over to you for what are your final thoughts for tonight's episode?
Well, I always have two, Robbie, so you know that. My first final thought is that I can't believe it's happening, but the NFL kicks off the season tonight with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I cannot believe I'm even saying that. But very much looking forward to some football episodes here on the Sports Blitz, but very much looking forward to football. I know Madden, I think, comes out Tuesday. The new Madden, I think, comes out Tuesday, too. So very much looking forward to the football season and chatting about Newton versus Jones and everything else that we have talking football, because it's time. See, I got my championship hat on. I got my Pat shirt. I'm all ready. I'm all ready to roll.
You guys can't see that I have Pats on my shirt. I actually have all the Boston teams on my shirt tonight. So
yeah, and the second thing I have is, I'm just going to say that suicide prevention hotline again. It's 1-800-273-8255. We're going to have it in the description. I thank everybody for joining us. Please remember to hit the bell and subscribe and hit the bell. We are on YouTube. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Facebook. We are on, what else? Twitter. Yep. We're on Twitter. And that's it for this episode. Robbie had a good one.
But Doug, you almost forgot, because we did not shout at the beginning, but we have other spin-off shows that are also going on.
Of course.
We cannot forget about,
of course,
the triangle of sports,
Triangle Podcast,
or the Triangle Podcast. Yes, you're correct. Obviously, want to give a big shout out to the newest of our triangle of podcasts here, Marvel at the Movies, starring Doug and Kyle.
We just finished an episode. We just recorded an episode 2 days ago, so it should be out this week.
Yep, and 2 episodes have already been published. And again, if you go to our last episode, there's a link there to Marvel at the Movies. So definitely hit them. Definitely give them a subscription as well. They've been doing great work so far. And also, a little shameless plug for me, On a Couch Talking Sports featuring Kyle and I.
Absolutely. Great show.
Going strong. We had a new episode. We had an episode last week, and then we've got a new episode coming down the road here next week. So we got a lot going on with that. So a lot of exciting stuff in the podcast YouTube world with all 3 of these shows, and it's been a lot of fun. It'll continue to be a lot of fun as we continue to go along here.
Absolutely. And again, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll find out at the end of this episode what to do. But subscribe and hit the bell. Check us out. Check out those other podcasts too. They will be in the description. And had a great time, Robbie, again.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next time on the Sports Blitz.